Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. We are once again back looking at the BVVD Q&A. We're about halfway through it now. There's a lot of questions and a lot of thoughts, so it's been pretty good so far. And let's just kind of continue with some of the other topics, starting off with another BR spread of 0.7. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get started. I always find these questions kind of interesting because they just completely miss the fact that we've had the game decompressed a million times since people have been asking this. Technically, nowadays, we probably actually have more of a 0.7 batter rating spread compared to previous. Because if you have, let's say, 1-0 to 10-0, and the batter rating spread is 1.0, that is different to 1-0 to 14.3, and the batter rating spread is still 1.0. So it's just, yeah, it's weird how people focus on one specific mechanism of matchmaking and don't look at the other ones that have changed over the years that have affected the matchmaking.
Can we expect a tighter battle rating spread of 0.7?
Combat.
The answer is no, by the way. And I'll tell you exactly what he's going to say, because they say it every time. Variety. They want people not just to see the same vehicles over and over again, even though in air, that's basically what happens, because they flooded certain areas with premiums. So all you see is those premiums. Then they're going to talk about, maybe some of the matchmaking changes that they've made over the time, but mainly they're going to talk about the variety stuff.
Strength isn't the only factor that affects gameplay. Variety matters too.
Oh!
If we narrow the BR spread, yes, the vehicles you encounter
What
will
a
be
surprise.
closely matched in terms of their combat capabilities, but the overall diversity of vehicles you encounter will shrink as well. Given that most players tend to gravitate towards meta vehicles, reducing the BR range would mean that you wouldn't even meet the full range of opponents theoretically existing within that smaller range of BRs. On top of that, you have to understand the fact that narrowing the spread could significantly increase matchmaking times. Even
I should have also mentioned that, yeah, matchmaking times, which is a completely fair point. And to the people who say that they would gladly wait a minute more or 5 minutes more to get 0.7 matchmaking compared to 1.0, the issue is you cannot guarantee that, and that is the problem. You can't guarantee how long it's actually going to increase queue times, and just because you are okay with waiting that amount of time, another person is not okay with waiting that amount of time. So that is also the issue.
though War Thunder has a large player base, especially during peak hours, once you start factoring in things like server region, specific BR ranges, particular nations, or squadrons of several players, all of that together can already
Did he just say squadrons?
particular nations or squadrons of things like server region, specific BR ranges, particular nations, or squadrons of several.
I think that should be the official name of squadrons now. Squadrons. I like
players, all of that together can already result in noticeable queue times.
Squadrons.
If we made the range even tighter, wait times could stretch into several minutes or even dozens of minutes. So the answer is no. We don't plan to change the current BR spread. Instead, we'll continue raising the upper BR limit, gradually achieving a kind of decompression that way.
Which is exactly the same as what people are asking for. It's just a different mechanic on how they do it. So if you have a look at specific vehicles, they haven't really changed BR in a long time. But if you have a look at the fact that a lot of the areas has been decompressed, other vehicles have. So if you want a good, I suppose, a good show of this, you can have a look at something like the T92. That vehicle was like 6.7 for the longest time. They didn't change it at all. Nothing mechanically changed about the vehicle, and then they raised it to 7.0 because they ended up decompressing a lot of stuff around it, which changed its matchmaking, and therefore it goes up in BR because it's a little bit better, basically. So yeah, they're the same mechanics. They're just seen from a different side of the lens. So you either decompress the BRs, which means that 1.0 spread covers less vehicles than it did previously, or you reduce it to 0.7, which means that you see less of the vehicles frequently. So they could technically do both, but they choose to do the decompression because whenever they add new mechanics and stuff like that, the number going up is a lot easier for people to see than to squashing everything else.
Any news on the development of submarines?
We're continuing to work on submarines, but implementing such a complicated and controversial type of vehicle takes a lot of time. The biggest challenge is figuring out how to properly integrate submarines, which were never designed for large-scale fleet battles, into the very same fleet battles that basically make up the standard naval experience in War Thunder, and to do it in such a way that we somehow don't break the game for everybody else. We're very grateful to the community and to all submarine enthusiasts for their patience, and we'll do our best to make sure that the final result meets your expectations.
Yeah, in one of the sneak peek streams, I think BVVD said we're just trying to work out how to make submarines fun, and he's completely hit the nail on the head. I don't know how you make that gameplay fun, not just for the person who's playing the submarines, because there's very easy ways of making it fun for them. You just make them crazy overpowered. But the issue is, how do you make it fun for everybody else? Because they're technically another one of these things, just like the top-down artillery mechanic, where it's one of those where you can attack vehicles while also not being able to be hit. So, and if you make it so they have to come up to the top of the water in order to launch their torpedoes, or if they have to be above a certain depth, or maybe they can be targeted under the water by shells, or maybe they add in mechanics to try and counter them in terms of, I don't know, like some kind of like depth charge, big depth charge catapults or something. What ends up happening is it then becomes unfun for the other one. So it's just really, really hard to actually make them fun. So we've seen in War Thunder, they've actually done several events with submarines. They've shown that they can get sonar to work. They've shown that they can work on literally like homing torpedoes. They have also shown that they have all of the base mechanics there with a few bugs here and there. But the one thing they haven't been able to do, which is the key problem with submarines, they have not found a way to be able to make them fun. And being fun is the essence of a video game. You have to make it entertaining. And there isn't another game out there that I think has done that. There are some which have definitely done better than others. I think Cold Waters was its name. I remember watching some Jingles videos back in the day, watching him play it, and I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting. You have to think about how, you know, you kind of set up against the ship, then you have specific missions that you go on, then it's all about like timing and everything like that. Silent Hunter may have been its name, or I think it was Cold Waters, but I can't remember. And then I actually looked to like proper gameplay of it, so not just like highlight gameplay. And then I realized like 90% of the time you're not actually doing anything, you're just setting up on where to go and hoping to find targets, which is not very enjoyable even from a solo point of view from my perspective. There are people who will enjoy it, but if you look at all of the other submarine games that exist in the world, so have a look on Steam at how many people play these games, it's a very small amount of people. And that has always been the issue with naval in general, and submarines is a micro setup for that too. And that is a real problem in terms of the game. So yeah, it's something he said before, and he's completely hit the nail on the head. They're trying to figure out how to make it fun. And with the confines of War Thunder and having to make stuff realistic, they're really going to struggle with it. Really going to struggle with it.
Are there any new game modes in the works? Players are tired of capturing zones.
I'm not tired of capturing zones. Thank you. But they've already talked about game modes they're working on earlier, and they've also tested a bunch of game modes recently. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really. He's just going to say the same thing again, man. He's just going to say we're in the doldrums. We're just going around in the circles again.
We think that if players were truly tired of the classic missions with 1 or 3 objectives, they'd have already stopped playing and switched to something else.
Oh, BVVD's going on the offensive. Shit, sick burn, BVVD. Good shit.
These modes are classic for a reason. They appeal to players with their simplicity and consistency, letting them focus more on actually fighting the enemy rather than learning some complex mission rules or adapting to unpredictable mechanics.
By the way, he's completely right. There is a level of comfort which is very appealing to people, and also consistency. When you have something that works, people continue to play it. War Thunder, as a system, has shown to be a system that people enjoy. It is one of the most popular games in the world. It is the most popular game easily in its genre of game, in the war gaming genre. It is bigger than any of the other games by magnitudes. Magnitudes. And it's all based around the same game modes that have been staples for years that people continue to play. One of the big fallacies that has been said many times when it comes to War Thunder is the idea that there is this massive group of people who end up playing War Thunder who hate the game. The vast majority of people who play War Thunder enjoy the game and just play it and don't get involved in social media stuff and don't care about any of that. So you have to be very careful when looking at social media because it gives you a very, very bad false perspective of what people actually believe about the game. What ends up happening on social media, just like it does in our heads, where people will always be vocal about the things that are negatively affecting them, and they will not be vocal about the things that are positively affecting them. Because things that are positively affecting you do not need to be fixed. They do not need to be changed. They do not need to be discussed because they are positives. So there is a hyper focus on negativity, and there has been for years when it comes to the game.
More elaborate missions with intricate objectives that would progress in some complicated fashion could work well with fewer, significantly fewer core mechanics or simpler mechanics. But in War Thunder, the scope and speed of what's happening, the sheer depth of vehicle control, and the number of possible actions already demand a lot in terms of player attention. Adding extra layers of complexity within the missions makes things much harder to follow and control. That's why we only introduce such experimental modes as temporary events. Not meant for everyone, but they give players who want that chance to shake things up a bit, have some fun with something that isn't just capturing points, and then return to the good old familiar game modes with renewed vigor.
I do honestly think if they decided to completely revamp what is seen as ground realistic and arcade or air realistic and arcade, there would be a massive drop off in the player base. I think people really underestimate how important stability is when people play stuff. Think about millions of the FPSs that have come out. They all have the same game modes. You either have Search and Destroy, which has been around for 25 years. You have Team Deathmatch, which is just kill the other person. Or you have something like a variation of that, which is slightly more large scale, which even with Battlefield, right? The new Battlefield that came out, the maps are significantly more tight-knit than they were in previous ones. So literally, it isn't the fact that things haven't been innovated on. People have tried to innovate on these things, and people prefer the old things. You know what I mean? Same with Capture the Flag and all of these other stuff. So yeah, it's very hard to actually innovate a new game mode that people are going to fully enjoy and not just stop playing.
Are there any changes planned for Squadron battles?
The Squadron Battles mode has gone through several major changes since it was first introduced, evolving alongside the game itself and adapting to ships and player engagement and priorities. Its current state seems stable to us, meeting the needs of players. The rewards for participating in this mode also appear to be well balanced with the effort required, so we're not considering increasing them at this time.
I don't know, Squadron Battles is one of those minority things that is a very small part of the community. It really doesn't matter. It's one of those that gets way more kind of light than it needs to. Whenever they develop whatever this new kind of system for air they're talking about is, and the World of War map stuff, maybe then this will be more relevant. But yeah, it's just, for me, it's just background dressing. Something that hasn't changed in a long time, and I don't think it's going to. Like, it's the amount of effort they would have to put in to actually make it interesting is not the same level as how many people would find it interesting, therefore it's not worth it.
Appear to be well balanced with the effort required, so we're not considering increasing them at this time.
When will we finally get the ability to ban more than one map?
No, because
Sorry. Oh.
finally get the ability to ban more than one map?
No.
That's gotta be, someone's gotta make that into like a YouTube short. No. Yeah, so I think it's, if you have 20 variables and you ban one, that's 5%. Okay? Now imagine you have 20 different people who all ban a different map. So now you have a situation where a 5% has now become 100% because that set of people can no longer find a map. They cannot match together in a map. Now imagine if you increase that to 2. So now you have 10%, and now they cannot find any maps. And you've also, even if you expand it to, let's say, 40 people, you're going to have the same issue. The expansion of these things, it really isn't as easy as just adding another ban, because they'll have all the statistics that kind of show them how many maps are not being seen or how much of an effect a ban has on seeing it in the matchmaker and how many matches cannot be created because of it, right? And it's obviously affecting it enough for them to believe that they cannot have another map ban because you will be sat in queue times for ages. And once again, just because one person is okay being sat in a queue time for 5 minutes does not mean other people are. And if you make a fundamental change like that and the outcomes are negative, you torpedo the product. So it isn't just one of these, like, once people are done with a product like War Thunder, they're done. Okay? So if you make a change that negatively affects them and they leave, it is near impossible to get them to come back. So if you make a change that has that effect, you are going to nuke the game. And that's why they're always worried about this stuff, and they should be.
Because even right now, players already have the potential to ban up to 32 maps in the worst case scenario.
What?
That's 16 versus 16 players, each banning.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Right. Okay. All right. That was weirdly worded, but I get what he's saying. It's basically just what I just said, but yeah. I thought he was talking, he's not talking about the downvotes, he's talking about individual players queuing up at the same time. But the way that was worded, I thought he was talking about one player.
One map, which removes 32 maps from the pool. And since not all maps are available at every battle rating, this can already exclude more than half the maps we have in certain modes. So even the current ban system already noticeably reduces the variety of locations players see, even if they personally ban just one map. Because of that, we don't think increasing the number of bans would be beneficial. Instead, we're focusing on a variety of measures that prevent players from being placed on the same map several times in a row. Why does that happen? Because the map selection process is utterly random, even with a well-shuffled map list that avoids immediate repeats as it works now.
See, I don't fully believe that. I don't think it's 100% random. Or it might be now, after, because if they did a community update earlier, which said that they have been testing a new system over the last few weeks where it's pretty much impossible to get like the same map over and over again. But I have seen times where people have joined a map, left straight away, gone into the matchmaker straight away again, joined a map. It's a different game, but it's the same map. And they've done that 5 or 6 several times over and over again. And it's as if there's like server clusters that are designed to play one map in that 30-minute area, and then it switches over to another one and then another one. So I don't, that's why that's not random to me, because that was something that was reproducible, and it's something that I've seen many, even like CCs doing. Like when they're trying to get like content on specific vehicles, they will just keep going in and out of games if they die early or if they don't like a map. And, you know, if they're only playing one vehicle, crew locks don't matter, right? Because you just go in, die, and then go to the next one. So I've seen this happen like to a lot of CCs, and I've seen them complain about it as well. The idea that, oh, I've got this map like 5 times in a row, even though I've only spent 2 minutes in each of the maps because I'm trying to get footage instead of playing the game properly. And it's something that has definitely happened. So I'm not sure, that doesn't, totally random things do not create those results. The amount of, the percentage chance of that happening over and over and over and over again to several different people in several different areas does not, it's too small of a probability for me to believe.
There's no guarantee that you won't end up on the same map twice or more in a row. For example, you finish a 17-minute match, wait 3 minutes, queue again, and you get the same mission, even though in reality it only reappeared 19 minutes later. Unfortunately, that can happen several times in a row just by chance.
Reappeared? Where is it? That's the thing. Where is it reappearing from? Is it the server? Is it that specific servers are designed for specific maps and therefore they get like activated, or maybe there's like a rotation or something? But once again, that I don't know.
Randomness. It's also important to remember that
I need to have a look into how this works, like, because it just doesn't make a lot
map
of
bans and
sense.
dislikes work on top of all that and further reduce the available pool of maps you can be matched on. The pool you're personally drawing from, which amplifies the issue. So we're currently developing a system that takes a player's recent match history into account and filters out maps they or others currently in the queue have recently played. This should reduce significantly the number of streaks, situations where you're placed in the same map several times, 2 or more times in a row. By the way, most of the work on this system is already complete, and we're testing it even on live servers right now. Once we're confident everything's working properly, we'll roll it out everywhere, and, of course, we'll also make a corresponding official announcement.
That official announcement came out on Thursday, by the way, which is, you know, not too surprising. Just remember, we're recording these on Thursday, but they're coming out on Saturday just because of scheduling stuff. So I don't like it when they do this. And I talked about this before. I don't like it when they test stuff on the live server and they do not tell people that they're testing stuff, even if it's seen as a positive. There was a Q&A either last year or the year before where they talked about the fact that they had been testing out different amounts of research. Like, you would actually get different amounts of research from battles depending on what you were doing in the battles. But they were doing it in the background and they didn't tell anybody it was happening. And they're doing the same thing with this too. So even if this thing has a positive effect and overall is something which is good for people and will bring more variety and will make people, you know, enjoy stuff more, I don't like being a lab rat. You know, the whole point of the dev server is for that. You know, the whole point of these different areas is to test things. You have internal tests done as well. I don't get why you have to push these tests to the live server, and, well, obviously because they get more data from it because more people are on it, but I don't like the fact they don't tell people about it, because then you can't trust that what you are seeing today is going to be the same as what's in a week time, because some hidden changes have been made that aren't in the data mines or aren't in the change logs that are affecting your gameplay that you don't know about. And that is not good. It leads to a lot of distrust, and it leads to ghost opinions, let's call them, or phantom issues, where what ends up happening is people have like a string of like bad things happen to them, and then instead of just being like, okay, maybe I need to focus on something, or maybe I need to do something here, what ends up happening instead is they just go, oh, Gaijin must have changed something in the game, they are targeting me. Right? And that is the problem with this, because you are now telling them that these things are happening. So now they're going to start extrapolating and believing it's happening in other ways. Why are they targeting me? Why are they giving me all of the up tiers? Why are they punishing me? You see what I mean? Like, that's not good.
Is there something planned to improve the player experience of the helicopter PvE game mode?
PvP battles involving helicopters are a very niche experience, something that appeals to a...
Right. That's not what was asked. PvE game mode. Listen to the first sentence.
PvP battles...
Okay, so we've gone from talking or asking about PvE, and now the answer is about PvP.
involving helicopters are a very niche experience, something that appeals to a rather small and specific audience.
That is very true.
That was clear from the limited popularity of the helicopter PvP mode, so we currently don't have any plans to bring it back in any form. As for dedicated helicopter PvE,
Okay.
we don't have any active or in-progress
Right, once again.
any form. As for dedicated helicopter PvE, we don't have any active or in-progress plans for its additional development right now either. We believe it already offers enough variety in terms of goals, objectives, helicopters with different weapon loadouts. Moreover, since we added the option to research helicopters through ground battles, namely by using the special option of converting earned experience, the relevance of dedicated helicopter PvP has naturally declined. After all, players experience helicopter versus helicopter combat as part of regular mixed battles.
The problem is the grind, BVVD. The problem is the grind, man. It isn't the fact that you can research the vehicles, it's the modifications, man. Come on. Like, we've been through this a million times. A million times with many different vehicles. Reminds me of the Heat FS debacle once again. It is not the fact that it is hard to research the vehicle. It's the goddamn modifications. There's so many different helicopters that are worthless without a lot of their modifications, and their modifications are insanely expensive. So people go to PvE to be able to grind out the modifications. The problem is that there is a fundamental issue, and that is that when you take a spaded vehicle, especially a high-tier vehicle, with insane weaponry, they are going to clear up the helicopter PvE battle before the guys who actually need it to grind the modifications are able to. It's been the problem the whole time. It's the stock versus spaded debacle once again. It's the same every damn time. You need to make the stock experience of helicopters better for people. That's how you solve this. You could remove the PvE game mode. It doesn't matter. That's not the issue. The issue is people are using it to try and get these mods because they can't get them in the goddamn ground mode because they just get shafted. And then in the PvE mode, they get shafted because they're playing against people with full bangers who just take over the games. Oh, man. Just missed the point completely.
Players leaving out.
Just completely missed the point. And if anything, you know, I don't like saying it, but just, I don't know whether it's obfuscation or whatever, but we've had this question a million times and it's always misinterpreted. Because the guys who need the PvE mode to grind out the mods are not the ones who are profiting from the PvE mode. It's the premiums, and it's also the top tier helicopters which are able to annihilate everything. And if you want people to be able to, you want to push people to monetize, to G the vehicles, that's completely fine. Right? That's just how it is, right? But don't sell the sophistry, please. Just don't do it with this. It just does not work. But let me know your thoughts on this set of questions. We are nearly done with the Q&A. We only have 10 minutes left. God damn, this is a long one. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.